Well, I made it. It took a little bit longer than anticipated, but I made it. I just rode a freaking scooter home from work, and I just got in the door. I changed my shirt 'cause I was sweating like a freaking pig. Probably gonna get sick because I was out there sweating, and I had a long sleever on, but I took off my jacket because it's just too much. But I know you're not really supposed to do that. It's not like terribly cold, but I probably should have kept my jacket on. I just can't stand being sweaty. So hello, success. We have success. And now it's going to take me a few minutes to wind down after that. So yes, well, we'll see who's in the chat here. Oh, Atheist Mo. Good to see you. Oh, you're going into work. Damn, buddy. Well, I forget. It's like morning over there. Yeah. Here it's last call. It's just before 2 a.m. So I made it to the corner store on my way home. So I had a little R&R. So I get to sleep in the morning. So places to go and people to do. Mom. Let's change this avatar. I think we've successfully exhausted this one for the time being. We're gonna go Tommy Chong, even though I don't have any pot to speak of. I'm out, so I'm gonna have to get the scraping tools and smoke some of this here resin if I can find one. And 5 a.m. Yeah. That's what I thought, something like that. East Coast time. So, oh yeah, I didn't copy, but I didn't paste. Find something to wind down to. Well, there was a bunch of streams going earlier, but I couldn't make into any. And then I had frickin' Night of the Living Dead come at me on the bridge back there coming on my way home. No, he didn't come at me, but he did look like an actual zombie. But I think he was on heroin or fentanyl or something. So, yeah. Okay. I haven't watched very much of this channel, so if you're in the mood for some nonsense, prepare for no. We'll see. It might not be nonsense. I have no idea because I haven't really watched too much. You can't video now. Yeah, I understand, man. Sorry. Yeah, we should schedule a stream together when the time is right for you, though, because I've been doing streams, trying to just about every day. Right now, I'm just coming in after work, which is pretty much what I've been doing, because might as well. It keeps me out of my head. Yeah, my throat's already getting well, it's all right. We need to get sick with syrup for once. Let's see what this Protestant guy has to say. I guess maybe
gives me all the definitions. Well, I guess these are the different NSAB translations. I shall look a little further down. But anyway, I guess this is, I mean, properly restored, righteous, vindicated, made right. I mean, I guess you could. I don't know. Like, I don't even. It didn't even use the word cleansed one single time. The NASB translation. So I'd have to kind of go look that up again, just to, because that's probably a pretty important point. What is that word better translated as cleansed, restored, sanctified?
Yeah, no, I know how it is. I've gone a few months without making videos, and like the ones I'm doing now are just this. Or whenever people come in, we do just open dialogues, pretty much, which I've been doing with Kat and D-Man on recently. Kat's been coming by quite a bit, so we've been having fun with that. And I don't know if you saw, but Will Kincaid was over last night. We had to kick him out. So we had to kick him out. No. I can't remember if he dropped the N-bomb. I seem to think he did. I happened to be somewhat distracted, and I was kind of just letting them go at it. Him and Godless Selling, Will and Will. And then I think some racial commentary was made, and then, yeah, it just got ugly, so I ended it. But yeah, it's been fun for the most part.
I do have an
Even that was
argument
kind
for
of fun.
restore, but I just can't remember that the notes and everything that goes into it. Like I said, I've been working on this for 3 weeks. And it's just on little points like this because I really want to make a video that just destroys that shows you 100% this was a mistranslation in the King James. And not only that, it would also destroy the entire Seventh-day Adventist
Okay.
doctrine because
So he was doing that thing. He's doing the translations thing. Okay.
they no longer have any reason to do that 2,300-year prophecy.
Is that like?
And like I said,
yeah,
like in
That's
here,
it.
this interlinear, it's
25
even got,
years.
it's even mistranslating things because it's saying evenings and days. This should be mornings. Because if I click Bokur, it even tells you.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, it's Easter Sunday, I suppose. Yeah, technically it's Easter here too. But yeah, I understand being tired. It's like I'm too exhausted to make actual content, so I'll just critique other people. This is my hobby. But no, it's also because I haven't really focused a lot of energy into the topic, the videos with topics that I want to make lately. So, but that's mostly philosophy stuff anyway. But I have been trying to plan for the next open room, so I'm somewhat prepared for that. We can do that on Monday, tomorrow. Yeah. So I'm trying to set that up, but just unwinding right now. So, but yeah, I don't know. An Easter stream could be in order.
Definition morning. It's not, and that's a big difference from the word day. And that's like, look, it never even translated Bokur into day anywhere else. The NASB, they got dawn. Oh, I guess they did translate it day one single time, but which was this probably just like this right here maybe. And this verse, this might have been the only verse they translated it today. And then daybreak, evening, mornings, or every morning. I'm sorry, every morning soon, tomorrow morning. So, and then it's singular too. Didn't it say it was singular up here somewhere? All I know is this is definitely the singular trend.
Body temp is coming down now, so I had to go put on a coat. So now I look like a proper ragamuffin. Oh no. All dressed up, nowhere to go. How do I do that? Oh yeah, that one. This guy's kind of boring me right now, so probably something else. Save it for another time. I'm sorry. We started like 35 minutes into it, so okay, I'm tempted just to see what this is about. So it's live on the Steve McRae channel. Steve McRae. I know Steve is mucho hated
Ready to
around
start?
here, so I really don't watch very much of his stuff, so I'm not even sure what he's about.
It's so disingenuous,
Yes,
isn't it? Then
absolutely.
I call it smearing by equivocation by proxy, where you say something, you're not equivocating. You know what you mean by it, but you know that the person who's listening to it interprets it as something else, something worse. So you've got you've got your fallback position. Oh, that's not what I actually meant.
I've lived my
you
whole
know
life
full
that.
well.
Yeah,
you know how it's going to be interpreted, and you know that's why you do it.
I'll give you a perfect example. If you remember the Non Sequitur show,
that dishonest co-host that Kyle had that I tried suing. Remember Kurt, Katie Joy Paulson?
Yeah.
For that
Really
crystal
let
ball?
the echo-
She said that I
it's not
assaulted
too
her
bad.
child.
Um,
I've never met her child in my life. I've
Right.
never talked.
yeah, Mo, that sounds really cool. Like going outdoors and doing some live streams. Great idea. Yeah, the weather was really great here, but we're expecting more rain. Okay, well, don't work too hard and have a good day, man. Maybe I'll see you later. Thanks for coming by.
And Noah Plum touched me. And it's
Yeah.
like, you know, you
Bionic.
shook their hand or something, you know?
Or see Bionic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, you
Yeah.
know,
But
Yeah.
people understand
Oh, I
that.
said.
over an
I just
hour
meant I'd
ago,
said
so-
something that resonated with them. That's all I meant. Yeah.
They touched my soul, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, if I did that once, I'd feel grubby forevermore. I think intellectually grubby forevermore that I'd done it. I'd have to do penance. I'd have to make a video. I think saying, "Look, I did this thing. I just couldn't do it.
I didn't mean to
cou-
touch their soul and their heart and their mind. Yeah, it just it was just so overwhelming. And you go on to say, but by the way, that was the real thing that happened. Again, we've lived through this.
Yeah.
So you go on to say, what information we show on documents that either show that information accurately or not at all. Again, as you can read from that link, is a quote transphobic position to hold, though. Even if you follow the thread, just like with the sports category situation, Bionic Dance Kate was, I love this part, unwilling to provide an argument beyond effectively, that sounds like her.
Yeah.
Despite me asking for her alternative solution would be. Anyways, I don't like doing this kind of tweet. I know you don't. Respond. It's rare. This is why it stood out. Response, but there is something fundamentally grubby about blocking someone then, and with no context or leaks tweets unopposed to your followers. How the person now blocked you is some terrible thing. It is cowardly. It is intellectually bankrupt. It is a shitty thing to do. And end of thread. Thank you for reading. And let me comment on that real quick because the person who misquoted me absolutely fabricated a quote that I did not say, not only doubled down on it, not only said there's a screenshot on it, but guess who they tagged in it to their flying monkeys? Arn Raw, Matt Dillahunty, Godless Engineer, Caitlin Glory, and somebody who's actually deceased, and other people that obviously I have issues with because they would never check into it.
Yeah. These things become law as well, don't they? LORE law. I mean, like so somebody will read that and it'll just sort of form a little seed in their head, and then 6 months later they'll report it onto somebody else. Yeah, I remember Steve McRae had said something, and then it's kind of becomes fact. Then everybody's referencing everybody else.
I have lived that. I have had people say, "Oh yeah, I remember Steve said that." I mean, really? I will pay you $1,000 right now if you can show me when any video I said that, because I know it wasn't what they said. I know where it came from. I know it got twisted, and know it got made up. But they'll say, "Oh, it was a direct quote." Really? Find it. They never do.
Yeah.
I had never.
Years back with this. I won't talk about who it was, but it was somebody that I got on okay with, and then started really laying into me on Facebook about an interview that I'd done, sucking up to Paul Elam. I had an interview with Paul Elam, who was a men's rights advocate, and I'd done this interview with him and sucked up to him. But I've never spoken to the guy. I've only ever mentioned the guy in a video once to say that I don't like him, that I think he's a sexist, and I think he misrepresents men's rights really badly. That's the only. But somebody had said something to this person on Facebook who I know, and they'd got it in their heads that I'd done it, and they'd not bothered checking.
Of course not.
It had become a fact in their mind.
It's a fact on the internet. Yeah.
Yeah, this is how Noel's gone downhill now. These are the people he's associated with.
It's also a form of gaslighting, and it's also a form of historical revisionism. And they know that if certain people won't fact check, it becomes solidified. Yes. And you and I have a very long memory because we've been around for a very, very long time. We've seen it happen, not just us, but other people. And every so often something will come up and you're like, no, that's not what happened. I remember this. That's not what happened. You're absolutely put out misinformation. And the honest agents will say, oh, really? And they'll correct themselves, but the dishonest ones will just continue double and triple down, but never provide you the actual source, the primary source. Never.
Yeah. There was some other great ones in those threads. Some of the threads you linked there about the sports ones about sexism. That was the other thing. There's a couple of people. It wasn't Kate, but let's be honest. We're discussing Bionic Dance here, but
Sorry, I'm back.
she's almost like an
Yeah,
archetype, right, for this kind of person. It's
That's a good
not.
point.
It's
That's
not
a good
actually
point.
about. It's
Yeah.
most of these points are more general.
Yep.
And there was a couple of people very much of the same mindset and accusing people. Basically, their position was, I'm not really hyperbolizing their position. This is it. But to suggest that males are superior to females in sport is misogynistic. That's what they said. Well, it's just you're not so you're not transphobic. You're sexist then. That was basically it. And it was like, but males are stronger than
It
females.
depends on the sport, but yeah, absolutely.
They said,
That's a fact.
They said it's
Right. So
sexist
you
to
just
say it.
No.
so-
And what I'm thinking is, so is
So
it
what I'm
sexist
thinking is,
because
like Steve just said, well, it depends because we're talking about physical strength. I mean, it all just depends on the sport, and then it gets compared to what men are better at playing sports with men, but not necessarily. I don't know. It's just like all very confused. I don't think you see why people are upset
Them is-
with you saying this shit.
What I've been
Obviously.
told by a few people, and you're right. Kate is just the archetype for this. She's the quintessential one. But I mean, a lot of people think just like her. But for example, I've been calling out Jeffrey Marsh as somebody who I cannot believe, as a grown adult, wants to have conversations with children about sex behind their parents' back. That, to me, I find problematic, and I'm getting pushback from it. I don't care if he's gay, straight, white, black, tall, short, fat, skinny. It makes no
Yeah.
difference. He's a
I don't know who Jeffrey Marsh is, but are the parents teaching the children about sex?
well,
or
even if
what's
what
the
you've said is
nature of the
true,
conversation?
it harms the trans and the gay community by calling him out. I'm like, no, it should strengthen the gay community because they don't want people like this talking to children about sex behind the parents, without their parents being
Yeah.
there, without their permission.
Wait,
This should be
why are you
ubiquitous. This
telling
should have nothing
the
to do with.
LGBTQIA plus community what they want? Why would you assume that to know that?
I think you have
Right,
bigger issues.
yeah.
When you are willing to sacrifice children to a possible predator merely because you think how some bigot may interpreted it, you're on the wrong side of history.
Yeah, I see. This is the problem with this ammo to the bigots.
Possible predator. Do you have any So you're upset because this guy's talking to children about sex. We don't have any context behind that, but now you're calling him a predator. Do you have any evidence to back that up?
Issues. So you've got a cause. Let's say it could be trans rights. Let's say so. They've got two groups of issues. One group of issues is legitimate and most people are on board with, and then another group of issues which are manifestly not of the same type, right? So for example, saying, well, gender is really important, treat people by the gender they associate as, this will make people's lives easier, it doesn't need to negatively impact anyone. People can get on board with that. But then when you start applying it to things like sport, where manifestly sex is more important than gender, those are different types of issues.
Absolutely.
But then when you say, well, but if you don't agree with us on these issues, you're strengthening the hand of the
them a guy, but they're non-binary, and a writer, activist, speaker, author, and viral on TikTok and Instagram. Okay, so you're evidently upset because of the content this person's posting on TikTok and Instagram, and whether or not young people are watching it. But it's like not your business to police young people's. Pay attention to your kids' TikTok and Instagram. Don't worry about other people's kids. See, that's the weird thing, that you're worried about what other people aren't policing on their kids.
On the sport issue, and then they're not conflated
exactly.
anymore.
And that's what I was just going to say. Something similar. If all of a sudden, like for example, if the LGBTQ plus community came together and said, "Look, we are denouncing this. We don't think that a grown adult should be." Talking to children, that would strengthen things and that would shut up the bigots. And the same thing with the sports. If they weren't so much like Kate, the bigots would have nothing to argue about. They would have nothing. They would have nothing to latch on to. It'd be like, oh shit, the LGBT plus community is being reasonable. Because honestly, I really do think like 99% of them, more are. Most of them are not like Kate or Essence of Thought. They're not radicalized. They're just people who want to live their fucking lives, and the rest of us go, hey, go with God, be happy. We don't care. Fly your freak flag. Nobody cares as long as you're not harming children or is non-consensual. And so it's only that really small radical people like Essence of Thought and Kate who will be out there going, no, you must believe with us, or you're just objectively wrong and you're a bigot. And that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, I don't think they do more good than harm. I think they do more harm than good, really.
I do. I do.
It must be difficult for some people that have been trans for some time and saw things getting better,
And now
which they were up until a few years, and now
exactly.
it's become an absolute mess just because of a sort of new brand of intolerance where everything has to happen in the next 5 minutes to a degree where you just accept everything. If there's 100 genders, well, there's 100 genders. People can just be whatever they want to be just by saying they are, and we all have to just accept.
But that's what it's called. It's called repressive
Yeah.
tolerance, which was basically the move.
People, it's like if you told me you were a victim of abuse, me not knowing you, I'm not going to sit here and call you a liar, right? That there would be no reason for me to presume that, right? But you are now saying, no, you're not what you identify as to all these, different people because you're worried that they might be confused or become confused or something, which is and it's it doesn't even concern you. It shouldn't concern. I mean, you should be concerned for people, but this particular issue, why do you think that you should concern yourself with speaking about it, right? That doesn't make any sense.
To have our opinions. I believe that people like Dylan,
let me show you that picture.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't want them to go.
No, I mean,
with
clearly,
my daughter.
We could distinguish between that, and women would say, "Hang on a minute."
But they're like, "Oh, well, now
you're the toilet." Yeah,
but now you're
but
dealing
now
with
it's got to be one or the other. Yeah, it's either got to be sex or gender.
Yeah.
Well, it's neither of
No.
those would be a good fit. We need to have a bit of common sense.
Yes.
Use the toilet that you sort of fit in the best.
Yeah.
Really, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I happen to agree with that. I think it is fuzzy, it is messy, but like you said, it worked. And I think the problem is you have dishonest actors that we know will take advantage of these types of things, and that's what we see happening. They're like, I mean, look at the guy, the shop teacher that had these, triple Z whatever prosthetic breast.
Yes.
It
was a troll. Shop teacher.
Shop teacher.
Yes, you're right.
That was a complete troll. Although they're saying for some reason, I think they know why they're doing it. They're saying, oh no, they're real because they're under the law they can't check. It's a complete troll. We know it.
Yeah.
And so I think like this person Dylan, who was a gay actor, a failed gay actor. They're like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to pretend to be gay, pretend to be trans, and I can make so much more money and get attention because I believe they're a narcissist. That's my opinion, right? So I have no respect for that person. I'm allowed to have that.
I know you mean. Yes, that's
your opinion, but you're like, okay, again, I don't know anything about this person, but you're saying this person was just a failed actor who was a gay, and now they've become trans and they've become more successful. So you think it's a gimmick? Is that what or they're identifying as trans, right? Because you wouldn't say become, but identified as. Okay.
And I saw the Nike advert with Dylan sort of prancing about.
It's a mockery. It's a caricature.
If that was, let's assume that wasn't Dylan wasn't a trans woman. Let's assume it was just a cis woman. It would still it still looks like a piss take, doesn't it?
Yes, it's a character. That's what I'm saying. Dylan is as a troll. I think it's just mocking people.
If you want to pick a trans woman to advertise for Nike, I would say that's about the worst person to pick. They're not athletic,
right?
They're advertising sports bras, and they don't need a sports bra, quite honestly. So you could you get some trans women with some quite big tits.
Yeah, I don't get it either. But I get it. It's all what it's self, right?
They seem like a couple of very opinionated with very little actual information. And they want to go off on, of course, Kate from Bionic Dance, who I guess blocked this guy and smeared him online, this Noel Plum guy, because he has opinions about transgender women. He doesn't think that they should compete in, the proper sporting events or something, I guess. And other topics that Noel has openly, honestly, and intelligently discussed on his channel for many years. But yeah, generally transphobic shit, I guess, which is they're just kind of displaying
that
this point on stage or James.
that
So you don't really have to like.
even if it's
Yeah,
true, even if
you're
Dylan
validating
is
your
just
argument.
taking the piss or whatever, why is it man? And my response was this, and I thought this was a good question. I said, look, I respect the hustle. If they're making money and they're playing the loophole and and they're suckering these companies, okay, you know what? Good on them, kind of thing. But you know what? Doesn't mean we can't call it out. And I think it's dishonest. I think it's unethical. But I get the hustle. I do, right? But if I would say, look, as a cisgender heterosexual white male, if I lied and said I was gay just to be a spokesperson for Grindr or from Gay Festival and to get my narcissistic supply like he does and get profit from it, would that be acceptable? Like, well, no, of course not. I'm like, then what's the difference?
Yeah.
And
No,
look, I could be wrong. I admit that. And if I am, so be it. Well, I'll take my lumps for it. I'll be like, okay, but that's my opinion from based on my
But
reasonable approach.
even if you're wrong, I mean, the material that I've seen of Dylan, she hams up being female. It's all a piss take. It's like the exercise bit with Nike.
Okay, now I gotta look this person up because I don't know who this Dylan is, but is this Dylan Mulvaney, the first person that came up in my search here? Oh yes, this is her. Okay. She's 26 years old. Like, how could you even... Okay. Oh, this is the Bud Light. Oh, I see. Okay.
I mean, Caitlyn Jenner said that she's upset by it.
Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah, just not a good choice. I think didn't Dylan speak with Joe Biden or something as well?
And Dylan also identifies as a 6-year-old child. It's like weird.
It's a bad choice. If you want to, I understand, right? Okay, let's get a trans person into the White House or whatever.
Great.
Fine. I love that. Great optics, but there's so many better people.
Well, you remember somebody had asked me? You remember Nadia from Nadia's Room? Yeah,
no.
Nadia Chambers, way back when. Long time ago. Okay. Well, Nadia Chambers was a trans woman on G Plus and Google Hangouts. And matter of fact, I think was the first person I ever actually went into a Google stream with, actually. And somebody
who was that? Sorry,
her name was Nadia Chambers. Nadia.
That I found here because it's cracking me up. So I wasn't really following this. But let me show you this well. This is great. I did not know about this. I mean, I only knew they had this person in the commercial, but I didn't know about the backlash. Over the past week, right-wingers in the U.S. have worked themselves into a veritable tizzy over a new Anheuser-Busch marketing campaign featuring transgender TikTok star Dylan Mulvaney, who promoted the company's Easy Carry contest on social media. To reiterate, the company put a trans woman in a marketing campaign, and things immediately escalated to the point of Kid Rock destroying cases of watery beer with an AR-15. What a time to be alive. And that cracks me up right there. I love that.
Oh, hey. That's twice where I was looking at my phone. That's why I brought it up earlier about my Bud Light hats, because people are freaking out over Dylan Mulvaney. And quite honestly, I said it's not my issue, but it's become my issue because it's back to everybody hates gay people now, you know?
Yeah, and so so they're accusing this person of, like, because I guess she was previously a gay man and then came out as trans, or however that worked out, right? Like they must be doing it just for the fucking publicity or some shit.
No matter what, crazy. Dylan Mulvaney is lame, okay? But no matter what, they're gonna say something. Just I was trying to sleep, man. And then I started listening to your show. I forgot how lame Steve McRae was. Let's keep in mind, Bionic Dance threatened me. These people, they get crazy on Twitter. So I think everybody's guilty. I'm going to tell you the honest truth. They sit around on Twitter looking for fights because they have nothing else in their lives. I'm just telling
Right.
you the honest truth. But they're talking about a mainstream issue, you know? But if they were talking about if atheists are rocks, they would have the same reaction. Or if it was, they and how many times has Bionic Dance and Steve McRae blocked each other or like
I know everybody hates Steve, so what didn't surprise me. I've just never heard of this Noel guy who's supposed to be the one he's defending right now. But I was like, okay.
you get
But
your butt kissed. You get your butt kissed if you have subscribers. You know the game. You know that game. And so they kiss Noel's butt because he has subscribers, but he's just as misinformed as Steve is. Do you know the one thing that's really bothering me is that they're not taking it a case by case basis. They're misconstruing what homosexuality is in general. They're lumping all these different categories into one, and it becomes the same argument every time. It is 2:22 in the evening, and this is twice today where your streams have got me lit because people are so ignorant.
So yeah, and I think like it shows to the issue where they seem to have an issue with trans or gay people talking to children. Like you're trying to turn the kids gay and trans, but you're educating them. Like we can't do that, you know.
as somebody who has a child, like I work with I can't get too deep into it, but my kids hung out with drag queens and gay dudes. In no worse for wear. The problem is context, because also again, I have a question, and the whole time Steve was talking, I was like, does Steve McRae have any children?
Probably not. I don't know.
There's no, like, I do not know. No, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I like in my early Angry Atheist days, I was probably subscribed to him, but I realized really quickly that a lot of these guys wouldn't sit in the same room with me.
Yeah.
So I slowly started unsubscribing from all of these guys because I remember him, but I'm an Anglophile. So I fall in love with English channels just like most Americans do,
Right.
But let's remember the source. Like let's really remember the source. These are people who are on the outside. The whole time Steve McRae was talking for people in the LGBTQIA plus community. And he can't even say it without spitting on the ground. This is crazy. This is crazy.
I thought that was disturbing too. It's like, why don't you let like they can speak for themselves? Yeah,
because I'll tell you,
you want.
I hope this one stays up because Steve McRae kissed my butt when he met me. He was nice as hell to me, and as someone who's an employer, that man asked me for a job. You can leave this one up. Steve McRae lives in a closet. That man lives in a closet. He's just one of those people that has a ton of subscribers because he's a charlatan, and we love to get lied to. As humans, we love to be lied to,
Well, I notice he likes to pose these really deep philosophical questions, but then, he doesn't actually want to engage with, the arguments he gets. He just, no, that's not what I said. That's not, and then he redirect. But it's like, okay, I responded to something he posted. And I can't remember what it was, but it was supposed to be like, deep thoughts question, and I was joking. And he put it to me like, well, why don't you come onto the channel and we'll discuss it? But I was like, dude, like, you did not read that was fucking sarcasm, bro. Like, is my text that vague? Like, because I don't
wanted
feel
to
like
trash you. He just wanted to trash you,
Yeah,
he just wanted to take you on to try to slam dunk on you.
That's what I was thinking too.
Like, you can't have a real conversation with a sensationalistic person because no matter what, it's going to go back to them looking at the crowd instead of them looking at you and actually having a conversation. That's why I don't even engage with most people on the internet anymore, because I refuse to go around in circles on the rodeo. I refuse.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get that you like have an audience. You want to like, okay, well, yeah, I'm looking at the people who are, in the comments thread and all that shit, and try to like multitask that. But yeah, like when you're, yeah, like you said, like not focused on the conversation, or you're constantly trying to like make it adversarial, like because that tends to hype people up, and then all that good shit. And like you said, it's just clickbait at that point. Like,
It just bothers me. Oh, and you know what? I may not look like it, but I have an eidetic memory. Like that's honestly part of why I'm so crazy is because I remember everything. While Steve was talking, what did he say? He said you could hide behind your flag. He said something about the flag though. It was really telling because
no, he said,
there
"Let your freak flag fly," was what he was trying to say, but I think he flubbed it like I did. No, but he was
he said
trying to say.
something.
He was trying to say, "Oh, well, yeah, you can do that all day as long as you don't do it in front of the kids." Was basically like the whole gist of that shit. Like it was like,
But his
okay,
wording was semi-derogatory, or maybe I heard it wrong. I do have clogged ear syndrome. I hear what I want to hear sometimes too.
hey,
But
me
like
too. Yeah, it was kind of
it, it
jumbled, I think, at that point too,
but it
like
just
what they were talking
seemed
about.
like it just seemed like he was coming from an angry place. And I'm telling you, this is why I constantly say, like, I don't need allies, because this is the same guy who hangs out with trans women that I know. He hangs out with gay men that I know of, and he'll kiss their butt to their face, but then he's on their show right now. And you know what's funny? I went on because I went in the chat because I wanted to see if anybody from the community I knew that know him is watching his show, and they're not.
Uh,
Because like I couldn't be friends with someone like that. Like oh, you're cool to me, but you think you ultimately think that I'm less of a person. That's ridiculous. It's crazy. It's crazy.
yeah. Or it goes back to the whole thing. Well, you just need to listen to me, little buddy, and I'm going to tell you how you should act. I know you're the one having the experience, but I'm just going to tell you what to do with it.
I think that's the one most frustrating thing since I've been online is when people like there's a lot of things that I'm not a part of. So when people start talking about certain things, I shut my mouth because I'm like, wow, I didn't know that this way of life was like this. But when you start speaking, I came out in like 1996, 1997. So I have a little bit more of a I come at people crazy when they start talking about the LGBTQIA plus community. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
it's the one issue where I'm like, no, I'm a part of that club. Like, no, I ride with them. Like those are my people. What are you talking about? And I've learned online, there are different sects of the LGBTQIA plus community. I hang out with a large group of Black LGBTQIA plus people who, quite
Right.
honestly, like, they don't associate with people that are like white LGBTQI. And when I used to hang out with Purple and them, I was the only person of color they hung out with. Only that was consistent. But it didn't dawn on me because I'll hang out with anybody if you're cool. I don't care.
Yeah. I've noticed that we divide ourselves in these little like subgroups sometimes, and I don't think we're even conscious that we do it. It's like, oh, I relate to this person. Oh, they kind of look like me, type of shit.
I never even realized how hardcore it was until someone that I grew up with, like a friend of mine, we grew up on the same block. He's a real German, blah blah blah. He at 12 or 13, his family moved to Tennessee. We kept in touch. He's like a really good friend of mine. He moves to Georgia. He's straight. He has a wife. He helps run Georgia Pride.
Oh,
And I
nice.
asked him a question. I asked him a question one day. I said, why do you guys have a white pride and a black pride? I was just joking. And he was like, I don't know, but we do. In LA, we don't have that. Everybody goes, like
Yeah. They're totally tolerant to the to the pride community, but they're hella racist. Oh, what? Wait, disconnect.
yeah, exactly. Like it was just so weird to me because on the West Coast, like I've been to prides all around, but I went to one in Portland and it was rocking. I was really shocked. I went to one in Seattle, the same. I went to a Martin. This was really uncomfortable for me, but I went to a Martin Luther Day King parade in Ashland, Oregon,
Mhm,
and I
mhm.
watched 10,000 white people march for Martin Luther King.
Oh, nice.
And they were
I
so
love
nice to me. They were so nice to me. It was uncomfortable.
well, yeah, of course. You were, you were the you
Super
were the
token.
yeah. I was trying to find another way to say it, but yeah.
Oh no, it was creepy. But Oregon's a different planet though. Before the pot laws were legal, this guy was smoking a J in front of a cop and talking to a cop and smoking a J. And I remember thinking, like, Oregon's a different planet, man. Oregon's a different planet.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but to get back to Steve McRae, because I do digress, like it scares me how much somebody who's not in the community thinks that they can speak for the community, because I guarantee you he would have a 3-hour stream if I started speaking for him. He would go off. His brain would explode.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, and that's in part what's going on. Like now, he's like, well, how could Kate do this? Not that we care, but why would they do? Why would she do something? It's like, no, wait, it has like, and and so like I think it's like I think it's faux outrage. You know what I mean? I don't think
Oh,
he
totally.
really cares. I think he knows just by name dropping, it's just gonna get him some more attention or whatever. Um, and but as far as like the community thing too, like I'm not sure what community Steve is a part of. Like, is he's like pretty much the atheist community has outed him. Now he's getting outed in other communities, and it's like, dude, like
I
I
don't
mean,
know
he
how
has this
he
little following, but
and the thing that trips me out is that like he used to hang out with the gays. I started on this platform with the gays, like he hung out with the people I hung out with, and every single person I hung out with was LGBTQIA plus, at the time, at least online. And
yeah, when I
he
came on, like everybody I talked to was talking about like the great debates or whatever. I guess the show he used to do and all this different stuff, and it was like. And I guess a lot of the people that congregate around these parts now were like witness to that, but I wasn't. So I really don't have any idea other than like third hand accounts of what happened there. But it's like
they had they had some good shows, but it was the people. Like they had this excuse me, this guy, I'll never forget, he was from LA. I was so disappointed. He was an essay, like a real essay, like a real gangster, but he was a flat earther. And GE like was not kind to him. He tore him apart. And I remember thinking like, oh man, the LA Unified School District is being indicted right now because this guy's a dummy. But besides that, like shows carry themselves, and like much like myself, he's had to amass his own crowd of people. But I'm not gonna go on a stream tomorrow and start dogging you, or like I'm not gonna go on a stream and start dogging Phoenix, or like it weirds me out. I've learned my lessons, and I guess some people haven't learned theirs. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Well, I guess the issue here. So, and I didn't see the whole nature of the conversation, but they had a Twitter thread going. Of course, is how it happened, and so Kate's the one, according to them. This Noel guy said something. Kate responded, then blocked this guy, and then publicly smeared him, sent it to Aaron Raw and some other people or some shit. So that's why they're upset now, and they're doing this, right?
She
So
is
it's just
like I said when I came in here. Kate's aggressive. Like Kate, she thinks way too highly of herself because she was on Tosh.0 10 years ago. Get over yourself.
well,
Get
yeah.
over
No,
you.
I noticed she is very opinionated, but she's always super sweet to me. Like I've never gotten into it with her, so I don't know. But
My pretty face ticks off a lot of people, and I got
right.
into it with a crowd that I won't say their name, but like what's really funny? I'm gonna say this, just how we were talking about different sex, like that crowd, that ACA crowd, they hate black men. They hate black men. And I'll say it. Like I've had dealings with Neil 604 Atheist. If you don't play Cabin Boy with him, he hates you. Every single person I've come across in that sect hate independent people. And Bionic Dance is no different. If you are not worshiping at their feet, they hate you because they don't believe in equals, because
I have
somehow
one funny moment with Neil that I remember. He got incredulous about it, and I'm still like, I'm pretty sure he got incredulous when I said, I heard about you on the Atheist Experience. He's all, no, I was never on the Atheist Experience. No, nobody ever mentioned me there. And I was like, no, somebody did. Like, I remember that explicitly. He's like, no, talk heathen. But he wanted to totally redirect it. And I was like, oh, this is like, my memory is serving me right here. But yeah, I thought that was funny. But yeah, I've noticed there's that weird dynamic with him and Mikey, and I love Mikey. I listen to Mikey shit all the time, and it does seem like there's a bit of a that it's like a weird employee-employer thing going on where I'm like, okay, but that's just the way they interact. It like gives me that vibe.
I'll tell you, like, I have opinions because I got canceled by that very crowd for standing up for myself. So when people crop
you mean Mikey's crowd?
No. I'm just talking about like for the lack of better terms, it's the white atheist crowd. Like we could go from people with like every single person I came across, I hurt their feelings because the second I got attention, they hated me. And you know what? It's more of a narcissistic thing. It's not even about race, but I fell into a certain crowd and I triggered the narcissists. I absolutely do because I'm weirdly independent in that sense where I'm like, oh, screw you. I'll just go do my own thing, And it upsets a lot of people when you don't need them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't.
Do you think it's like they're kind of doing like the whole like, well, look at what I've done for you, and so now you like owe them loyalty type of shit? Like,
yeah, and like I am fiercely independent, and I preach to everybody that everybody else should be like. No one, I don't know. I don't owe you anything. You don't owe me anything. Like common courtesy should just be common courtesy. Like, I don't know. There's this really weird dynamic where people get internet muscles and they get way ahead of themselves and they become the very thing that they swore they ran away from. Like, okay, you're an atheist, so you're going to start your own church. It's weird to me.
Well, okay, so I think there's two sides to that. So like I think like the FSM is cool, or lobsterism or something, like as far as having some kind of faux belief that we're like, okay, we could be silly about it, but you could still like use it as kind of like a placeholder for whatever people call faith, or it doesn't matter, like anything you can't explain, like
totally,
that's fine. I don't think there's anything like necessarily wrong with that. Like, but I do find like on the other end of that, because I had to check myself, like with my like religious friends and family personally, like I was starting to take it so seriously that I would end up like debating them like in just like mundane situations where you just be like, okay, that's cool, you believe that, I gotta go over here now and not have this fucking argument, because you're my family and shit. It's like, but these, like a lot of atheists online, they're like, and I understand like there is the trauma aspect of it where I have to be like, no, don't pray at me, don't preach at me, just let's talk about something else. And so they have to respect those boundaries too. But once you've established that, it's like you do not have to bludgeon them over the head with your atheism either. Like, you know what I mean?
And I think that's part of the problem with me is that like all these years into it now, it gets redundant when I hear people talking about religion. That's what triggers me when I hear atheists talking about religion. You just reminded me of something. recently my son has gone through so many phases, and because I'm home alone and he's not here, I can actually like he years ago, and it'll reflect in every phase that I've ever been through, but like years ago he walked up to his mom and he was like, I'm non-binary, and she said, okay. And then he walked up to her and he's like, I'm a communist now. Then he went through a Jordan Peterson phase, but I told him he's not allowed to watch Jordan Peterson, so he started watching Ben Shapiro. So he's a phaser, but he has ASD.
Oh,
This
that's too much. I think I remember you telling me that, the Ben Shapiro thing. That's hilarious.
it grinded at me for a while because like I'm a hover dad, so like his computer is keyed to mine. Like I could hit 2 buttons and find out what he's watching right now.
Yeah.
You know? So like, but long story short, he recently came to me and he's like, you know, I want to know more about religion. Do you know? Okay, so let's full stop. Let's hit the brakes, okay? And let's go inside of Godless Sewing's head. So part of me was like, what? I have failed as a parent, as an atheist. I have failed. Like, but then the adult in me was like, hey man, I'm here for you. You know, like, let's go. I told him I'll go to church with you. Let's go to church. Let's go to church. But I also want you to go to a synagogue. Let's go to a mosque. Let's go to a Buddhist temple. You know, like let's go explore. Because my parents
Right.
didn't give me an option.
Yeah, get all the perspective. Like, and you can also compare and see, like, all these people who are worshiping different deities but having like pretty much the same experience.
Thank you.
You see, get that aspect of it.
But the whole reason for me bringing this up is because a couple years ago I would have been like, nah, bro, we are atheists. I speak for you. Like, I'm a controlling idiot. No. But now I'm like, find out for yourself. Because in my mind, his logical conclusion will come right back to atheism.
I remember my oldest daughter, she asked me about, God when she's really, really young. She was like maybe, she had to have been about 5 years old. And 4 or 5 years old. And she just said, like, what is God or whatever. It was some like really simple, because she didn't even have a concept of it. We didn't talk about it. And so what I explained to her was that, God was a thing that some people believed in. And, he was like, I don't remember it specifically, but, basically gave her the gist of, created everything, all this good stuff. And some people believe that, but I don't believe that. But I said, you can decide for yourself when you get older. And then years later, my younger daughters came up to me, and my oldest was there, so all 3 of them. And one of the twins asked me, "Why don't you believe in God?" And I just gave her the Matt Dillon. I just don't see any evidence for it. I don't see any reason to believe it. I don't need God. And so she was like, "Oh, okay." And then we just moved on from there. It's never come up again. But, those moments stick with me. I'm like, because I don't have a great explanation, but I'm like, hey, give me yours. I'm not going to argue.
Same. No, I agree with you. Same. He kind of threw me off guard because I'm telling you, like, in my head, I was like, I have failed because part of it too. And like, he hangs out with his mom on the weekends, and his mom, she does awesome stuff. She goes places. She loves to party, and it's not in a bad way. Like, they go and hang out, but she was at a wedding, and the preacher walked up to my son, and people prey on children with autism. And my ex-wife knows this, so she kept an eye, but like, he was like, oh, how are you doing? He's like, do you believe in God? And my son was like, I'm an atheist. So the guy sat down and he told my son, oh, you should never let anyone tell you, what to believe. You should look inside yourself. Okay. So my son comes to me and he says, this preacher said this. I said, what's that preacher's name? Who is this guy? Because to me, that was kind of manipulative, because my son's mind was made up and this preacher was kind of like, oh, well, your dad's wrong. Am I wrong? Am I overreacting?
Well, I mean, no, he shouldn't be undermining you, but I mean, at the same time, that's probably his tactic of trying to get at you so that you come down there, and then he can,
Exactly.
give you the power of God or whatever, fucking
You
spiel
don't
he's
know,
got.
bro. I'll show up with godless patches on, dude. Loud as hell. Loud as hell. That's just in the
It's
parking
funny.
lot.
I went to a couple of like Celebrate Recovery meetings. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's
I
like
know exactly what that is.
okay. With my mom goes there, so I went down there with her. Actually, I had to do a court ordered program, so I went down there for the court
Same.
ordered program and
Same.
volunteered. And they were cool people. They were all really nice to me. But yeah, you just you got the idea that no, you can't. You're not going to get the passable like AA higher power shit. Here, you need Jesus. And so I
Ooh.
just tried to play the part with him. I was totally honest. I was like, no, I don't believe, but hey, I'm here, so I'll pray with you and all that good shit, So tried it out, but it's just so hard to keep a straight face for me. Like I'm just looking around the room and I'm like, yeah, I see how moving it is for you, but it just makes me want to laugh. I'm sorry.
Same. No, I couldn't sit in a room. I would like do you know every time I've gone to church in my adult atheist phase, I look at people like potato heads. I'm like, you still believe? There's a guy that I have grown up with my entire life. We're not friends, but we went to the same schools. We lived in the same neighborhood. And one weekend, my mom, her car was messed up. So I dropped her off at church, and he is he's like one of the door greeters. And I look at my mom, I was like, why doesn't this man just admit he's gay? But he's a single 40-year-old man who has not skipped a Sunday since like 1992 or something crazy. You know what I'm saying? Have you
seen the pastors, like the pastor, and they're totally flamboyant, and the wife herself is like an actual potato, and
yeah,
you're just like,
yes,
what this guy's doing. Yeah. We're gonna spend some extra time in Bible study this week, Karen, because Bill and I, we need to go over Proverbs real well. And
do you know the one thing? Like, see, that's the funny side of religion. Like, but nowadays they've brought gay conversion therapy back. Like, not even the Catholics did that back in the day, bro. Like, it's scary times, man. It's scary times.
Wait.
That's
Though
why
the Catholics, though, isn't this Pope like super liberal now? Isn't he like everything's cool? Like sin doesn't even exist anymore, and
to a line. He's like he's pulled some popey things a couple of times. I quit paying attention because like basically the internet's the devil, blah 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 blah. But like as human beings, we are powered by propaganda. We are like the Romans were geniuses by giving the people bread and circuses, and that has not changed since. If not, we would literally be throwing our dung at each other like the monkeys we are.
Do you think we should bring back, speaking of the Romans, public like violent sports, but like at the like should have boxing matches, just like down to the boardwalk or some shit like
We have in a way those have definitely come back. I watched Machine Gun Kelly get beat up by someone I never heard of just because I wanted to watch Machine Gun Kelly get beat up. But it was literally like in a backyard somewhere. And you know what? For as annoying
was this on YouTube or something?
I saw it on Twitter because I'm a Twitter, or it might have been Instagram, but I'm a Twitter guy.
Was it real or staged though? Because I'm always like, aren't his brother's a wrestler, right? Is he a wrestler? They're wrestlers, right?
No, who isn't an octagon like in someone's backyard on someone's property, and they were scrapping, and this dude yo-yoed Machine Gun Kelly in the end. But Machine Gun Kelly put up a fight. I was shocked. Like, you know what? Like, he's cocky. Like, I respect anyone who stands their ground, and he put up a fight because he's lanky and he did the grapple thing, but he got yoked in the end. When somebody is cocky, like there are certain people. Like, did you see 619 get beat up?
No, I don't really watch many of those anymore. I haven't watched that shit since like Kimbo Slice, like
619 is that weirdo rapper who was a
yeah, yeah.
snitch, Chomo guy. Well, some people think it's a stage, but he got his hat handed to him at a LA Fitness or something in Florida. I mean, teeth broke, head smashed, and the guy filmed it. They were like humiliating him.
Fuck.
He got beat so bad. I felt sorry for him, and if I'd seen him a week later, I probably would have done the same thing to him that these dudes did to him. And I felt so bad for him. I was like, wow, you got your hat handed to you, sir. Like you got
Yeah.
But that's the problem. Like, my cop neighbor, I work out in front of my house, and he asks me all the time. He thinks it's funny, but he's like, "Why are you working out? You're old." And I'm like, "I talk a lot of trash."
That's funny. People keep telling me I should work out at work, and I'm like, that seems like no, like that's just asking for trouble. You're out there in fucking uniform, like fucking lifted fucking dumbbells or some shit. People already want to start shit with me, so this is just gonna be like, oh, now you think you're tough, do you?
The uniform pisses people off too. People hate security guards. People I still to this day, because I was always a service job kind of guy. Like I will never understand. But if they see a cop uniform, they're like, yes sir, no sir. But if they see a security guard doing the exact same job, just saying, hey, don't go over here, they huck a loogie on you,
Yeah, well, and half the time, I mean, at least in the city I'm in, fucking the cops are nicer than me at this point. Like they get there and they're like, but that situational. But like you said, like they will be talking mad shit, and I can fake a phone call to the police department at this point, and they're like, oh yeah, they'll keep talking shit, but they'll either walk across the street or they'll wait until the fucking squad car rolls up. And then all of a sudden change their tone. Oh no, I wasn't saying shit, It's like
I love a good fake phone call. Fake phone call when I was in my 20s saved my life a couple times.
yeah.
I worked at a Carl's Jr. in downtown Portland. I worked at one in downtown LA, and I didn't realize that like downtown LA shuts down after a certain, like it gets abandoned after 5:00. It's changed now, but 20 something years ago, it was different. I worked in downtown Portland, and that was like a real downtown area.
Yeah.
It was a lit experience. And my whole reason for bringing that up is because people, back to what I said this morning about people in hotel jobs or any job you have, if they think they're above you or you're serving them, they treat you like garbage.
Right. Yeah.
Do you think that's
Oh,
human
you mean
nature?
the customers, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that's human nature, or is that just Western civilization? Because like I've known a lot of people from China, Japan, and India and Mexico, and they don't treat things like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably more common like places like here in California, and from what I understand, New York. Although I don't really like have much firsthand knowledge of that, but like, yeah, we seem to have a problem in our cities that is not common around the world in that area. But like, I also think, yeah, I think it's Western consumerist culture, I would call it. Like, we have a particular attitude, certain people, and I don't think all of us are like this, but certain people have an attitude where they're like, oh no, if I'm going to spend my money on this, this commodity, it's got to be, just perfect. And so you've got that whole, OCD thing going on, and they're like, do I have, exactly 6 folded towels in my room? I'm gonna
You
call
ain't
the main
lying.
service. I'm calling the manager. You know, it's like, and I've been there. I'm like, no, well, it sucks when you're paying, you know, like half a week's pay to stay, you know, for like
Oh,
2
heck yeah.
days in a hotel, and then like, you know, the hot water doesn't work, and there's construction in the next room. And you're like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
I say, may I have and please and thank you when I go out to eat, to the
well, yeah,
point where recently my mom, she actually said this a couple days ago because that's my road dog. She looked at me and she was like, "I'm so glad you're not rude like your brother." What she didn't know, and my brother, she's talking about my brother who's 14 years older than me. He raised me in a way. He was a good guy. For if I ever talk trash about him, it was because he ripped me off for $2,000 or because he's a compulsive liar. But like the guy took me to WrestleMania. The guy, like he was like every Dodger game I ever went to as a kid, he took me to. He was my big brother, you know. But oh damn it, I can't remember what I was talking about because it was too much setup. So I can't. Oh damn it! It's because I'm sitting here smoking, having a good time. Steve McRae got me hyped up. I am so tired of people coming after the LGBTQIA plus community. You cannot lump everyone into one category. Do you know? In LA, they're like you would never run up on a gay guy here because they'll break your jaw.
right.
Like I would never go to Long Beach. Like Long Beach is tough. And like the gay guys in Long Beach act accordingly. Matter of fact, Long Beach Pride is a little bit different because the tough guys come out. You're like, oh crap, like those two cholos are gay.
Yeah, it's same with San Francisco gays, dude. Like you fucking see them, they're like, dude, they're fucking yoked and
Yep.
fucking tattooed, and you're like, that dude's queer as fuck, and you're like, that's scary. It's scary. I couldn't. I no.
I lived when I first moved to LA, I had an ex-girlfriend who was Salvadorian, and like I miss those conversations that her and I used to have. Because she taught me like what streets not to go down. Like she gave me the ropes of LA. But there used to be this festival in Silver Lake where they'd bring the gays and the gangsters together. And like it was the most awesome thing. I don't know. It was just the most awesome experience I ever had was seeing just people being so accepting of themselves, you know. But the West
Yeah,
Coast is a different animal than like I've been to prides on the East Coast, and you have to carry a 45 on you because
fuck.
because they want to drag you. There's some dudes, you know, on the hill that want to drag you off. It's crazy.
It's just hard to imagine that. Yeah, it's like, and I do feel like very privileged in that way. Like, you know, I didn't, you know, like I didn't grow up with racism and sexism and fucking, you
Same.
know, fucking homophobia and shit, like all that shit. Like I learned about it later on in life. I was like, whoa, that's weird, you know.
Do you think and this isn't just my bias. I dated a woman from Maine, and she used to always tell me, she'd be like, you know, people from California are this, and this, but do you think it's because West Coast people are just we're weirdly laid back? Like I live
Yeah,
in a
I think there's a
conservative
mentality
neighborhood.
to it. Like when you're born here, yeah, it's like because it is such a busy place and it's seen that way by the rest of the country. And like the once you start to come to realize that, and you're like, it's how you adapt to it. Because some people never really get the hint, and even like what I was doing recently, like, you know, just driving around all crazy and getting into stupid altercations with people. You can do that shit all day long here if you want. But if you want to
Yeah, you
succeed,
really can.
you know, chill the fuck out and get some perspective on shit, you know? Like,
Hey man,
that's the
I'm a
only
real
way.
life Karen. You don't have to tell me twice. I am a real life Karen. You don't have to tell me.
Yeah.
No, but it just trips me out because we do have very much we're laid back, and it makes me laugh because most of the people I stream with now live on the West Coast. Like every single person except for Commander, but every other person is on the West Coast.
That's funny. You're the only person I think I know of that I consistently stream with who is West Coast. Like, yeah, most. I was like, before I think we even talked, I was like tripping on that because like everybody I was meeting was like East Coast or Midwest or a lot of Texans. And I was like,
Yeah.
and then I discovered one content creator who was near me, lives near me, and ever since I accidentally spilled it on a stream, and I think he thought I was kind of doxing him by giving away his area. He didn't want that, and I was like, "Oh, I know where you are in California." And I named the place, and he was like, somewhere kind of not north of there. You know what I mean? But it's like,
I've
and then
said
he's a little trippy with me.
I get it. You know what? Like I did that to Phoenix, not knowing to Phoenix the woman I stream with all the time now. Like because I've done so much traveling in and out of Oregon, like I inadvertently said like what town she lived in, and she didn't tell me till weeks later. She was like, okay, you are just a stoner who knows where you're going, because I was wondering if you were like testing me or something. I was like, no, I've just traveled. But like an idiot, like I was so excited because I'd been in that area, and that's just, and it's a very specific area of Oregon,
Yeah.
So I get
I haven't been up to Oregon, but as far as like Northern California and even a bit of LA, not as much in LA, but dude, like I've driven all around this motherfucker, like literally, like at this point, like looking back on it, I'm looking at the map, like, oh, I've been there, and but it's like I don't, remember very much of it. I've got like this organization in my brain where like when I move to a place, like I move down here, and I will intentionally like walk around and get lost. And like I have got my phone, but I don't use like maps or navigation. I like get lost and then, find some point of interest and then like find my way back. And it's like that's how I learn the streets, And I'll
Dude,
do the
I
same
miss
thing when I'm
doing that.
driving. I'm just like, all right, I've got, a couple hours to spare. I'll just go get some gas and just like cruise around all these side streets and figure out where they go. And
I
like,
miss doing that.
other than that, like I can't remember shit. Like I cannot remember where I've been to save my life.
I'll tell you the honest truth. Like, I think one of the reasons I have an eidetic memory is because I had early trauma as a child. So I think from that moment on, I was just at a very heightened sense of record. If you know what I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
So I my ex-wife's brother has epilepsy, and still to this day, he tells me all the time. He's like, it must suck to remember everything. Because he'll talk to me and I'm like, he was telling me a story about, he's like, oh, I went to the hospital and this, and like I fought this guy and this guy. I said, bro, I was there and I was the guy you were fighting.
That's one of the reasons I love YouTube videos, because sometimes I will look back and it's like if I don't have something written down or whatever, I'll be like, did I remember to, I know I thought I had a conversation about this, but did I actually have this conversation and say that thing, or that just happen in my mind? Should I write it down, or something? And then I could like just, oh, yep, nope, there's the YouTube video. I said that. Okay. I don't have to do anything. It's there.
Oh, same. I try to gauge that point of like where I'm still making sense in that one point where I smoke way too much pot, but I still have not got there yet. I'm still because I drink a ton of coffee and then I start smoking J's, like they're cigarettes. And then it hits me and I'm like, I'm in my own live stream and I am ripped right now. I have yet to find that medium yet. You got me going, man. It's not like I was going to go to sleep. It's not like I wasn't going to be doing what I was like sitting here. You know why I jumped in is because I was going to just end up watching your show anyways.
Well, I appreciate that. And I try to catch
But
you as
like,
can. Yeah.
it scares
I had
me.
no plans coming in, but I rode. Oh my god, how many miles did I ride? Let me tell you, on a fucking Razor scooter. I'm gonna tell you
Whoa!
right
When you
now. I
said
rode
scooter,
home from work on a Razor.
I thought you meant electric. When you said scooter,
No, it is not electric.
are you? Did you switch? Did you do switch stance, or you got one leg?
Oh yeah, no, I had to switch. Yeah, there's no
Okay.
way.
Yeah, because I skate goofy and I
13
go goofy.
miles.
Oh my
13
god!
fucking miles over the Richmond San Rafael Bridge.
Was any of it downhill?
I shit you not. Oh yeah, there's some good downhill spots. Actually, the steep end is on this side, so I was able to get to the top and just kind of like. And my scooter's hella janky, like the front wheels all wobbly and shit. So I
Fuck
had to
yeah!
go slow coming down, but I was like, "Fuck it, dude, whatever."
Fuck yeah! Fuck yeah! I still well, obviously in my videos, I still have my fruit boots. I love my rollerblades, but I still bomb hills in my skateboard. I am a 40-something-year-old man, and like on nights like this, like if you weren't on, I probably would have grabbed my board, grabbed a hoodie, and wandered into a neighborhood and just started bombing hills.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get it. I
I
respect
can't like skateboard to save my life. I've tried. Like I used to have a really nice what was it? I can't remember the fucking. It was one of those fiberglass decks. Fucking mom's boyfriend paid like $300 for it.
Oh, wow.
Custom everything. Fucking Spitfire wheels, Crux trucks, and dude, I can't remember the deck. What was it? Anyway, but I bailed so fucking hard off of that thing. I fucking landed on my fucking nuts on the fucking rail and shit. Like that
Oh,
was
that's
terrible. I was so
weird.
bad. I could barely ollie. Like I was jumping on a skateboard, but fruit boots, I can fruit boot all day. I get down on fucking rollerblades.
I still
dude.
do. I still
Yeah.
rollerblade. I still do. I don't give it. I have a younger cousin who is kind of like he's a softy Care Bear, but he's like on the outside, he's super gangster. Super, he got tattoos on his face. He did like 6 or 7 years in prison. He always tries to get me with that one because he's younger and he remembers like everybody was skateboarding, and I'm like, nah, bro. I have my
And they
rollerblades
would
and my
bag
hockey
on you
sticks.
so bad. Like I remember having fucking skateboarders throw shit at me at the skate park. Like I was like, dude, like what the fuck? Like I'm not fucking
We
with
didn't.
you. Like
I had friends. I was friends with all the skaters, and we didn't go. We didn't go to the skate park because they would have jumped my friends.
yeah,
like, like it was crazy. I try to explain to people like we fought each other.
you know,
Like the other I was trying to explain to my son why you don't throw middle fingers at people, why you don't try to get tough out the window. A long time ago, my cousin was driving and I was in the back seat. My friend Sam, who I don't mind saying his name because he did 11 years in prison and he recently found Jesus. Anyways, he ran his mouth to these guys and we thought we were toughies and those guys thought they were toughies too. This guy threw a full beer at my friend's face. A can.
that's fucking awful. So Will meet Will. Yes, that's the same one and the same, both with the same name.
Oh, is
Matt
this the guy from oh god.
Oh, I'm dying. I'm dead. Don't be racist, okay? Because I will boot you
No,
for racism.
he's gonna go. He's gonna go full re again.
Your mileage, or he might not. It's
Getting-
Will knows what he's
Getting triggered by someone's
doing.
presence.
Shtick, right? You give him the
Yes,
carrot,
sir.
not the shtick.
But anyways, back to the whole the whole thing about why I jumped in here in the first place. Like, there's no one community, you know. There's no one LGBTQIA plus community.
Oh, hello, Jody. Right, yeah, and there's no singular any community like the atheist community. What is that like? It's like no, we.
Oh,
And
don't
I
even get
think
me started on that.
YouTubers,
Like,
we do build we build communities. Like I know I've got like a solid group of people. You're amongst them. Like I guess Will's here too now, and Kat, fucking Mo, like people, Tobin, like people who have been around. I could like name a bunch of people, like, and then the people who help me build the channel and shit. So it's like we recognize that, and you're like, okay, now just it's all about networking and branching out and all that good shit, and so yeah, but then when you're like, oh, my community is the fucking best community and we speak for everyone, and like, what are you talking about, bro?
dude, I go by the Slayer line. Like, everyone's
What?
equally worthless, you know.
Yeah, I hate everyone
Everyone.
equally. I wasn't
You
saying
can't tear
Will
that
is a
out of
person
me.
because
No
he's black. It's
segregation.
because he's a veteran.
No segregation. No
Are you
separation.
a
Just me and
veteran?
my. No.
The fuck?
This is the part of the internet I love. Like, people fill in the blanks. Like, I love conclusions because they're always wrong. That's why I don't make them. That's why I don't tell people about themselves. I let them tell me about themselves.
Where did that even come from? Oh, yeah. Well, we try to sleep, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't know. I need to get tested because I might have got a contact high from that lady I fucking touched earlier. She got taken to the facility that she escaped from, but it was quite an experience. This is
Was
like the shit I deal with on a daily basis. I was like, okay, is this person just fucking twacked out, or are they having like a legitimate mental health issue? And they were, so I was like, okay, cool. But they might have been twacked
so
out too. And I was like, she grabbed my hand, and I'm like, no, it was
I'm not a doctor,
osmosis.
okay? I'm not a doctor, but like, I had close contact with somebody that was on some stuff, and I was like, it rubbed off, you know. But we were having relations, you know.
My ex-girlfriend was horribly racist. How did you know? She still is, actually. Both of them, now that I think about it.
Yeah, buddy, dog. Some filters are off, bro. Some I'm gonna do that one day. One day I'm just gonna switch languages. I do that when people start arguing about religions and they say, oh, God's this and this and this. I start speaking a different language. And they're like, what are you saying? And I'm like, well, it's just an interpretation, right?
Doobie doobie dabby. No, just bust out in song.
So it just shocks me that Steve McRae is still doing that shit. Just like I was saying about like all the like quote unquote top tier atheists. Do you know I laughed so hard when I found different atheist communities? And there's atheists that speak Spanish that don't know, they know Aaron Ra exists, but they have their own community, you know?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I know RN Raw exists, and he has probably like no clue I exist, even though we're like friends on Facebook or something. I don't know.
Just don't be like Atheist Edge. He butt snorkels that guy so hard it makes me question if they're dating.
Yeah.
And the only reason I call Atheist Edge is because he's another one of those challenged like dudes who every time he comes near me, it's like we were sitting there one time when I was in a stream and he's like, your flags are wrong. And everyone's like, what? And he's like, oh no, it's my he was literally sitting in my background trying to pick apart my background. But what he didn't know is I Googled that shit for people like him.
Yeah, so he was over here, was it a month ago or two, like a month and a half ago, maybe? And it was a weird off stream for me, I think. And he just popped in, and I was like, well, I'm like going off air. Like, I don't remember what the fuck it was, but it threw me the fuck off. Kaz, I mean, I don't know if you're talking about Kaz, right? From Atheist Edge.
I don't know who that is.
Atheist Edge. There's
Oh
two
yeah,
hosts.
yeah. No, the dude,
They're both the bald dude.
the older guy, the I guess he was a Marine or he served. He is actual veteran.
Okay, I'm not sure about that, but I just know one of the people from Atheist Edge was over here. Kind of just threw me off, and I was like, I'd totally be down to have a conversation. But it was
There's
like
more than one
endless
person.
stream shit, and but like that was the only interaction we've ever had. And like, just left it sitting there. But I've been following them for a while. I know Tobin Templeman recommended it to me, so I was like, okay, cool.
He's nice to certain people, and that's another thing. That's another thing in this community. Like, it's kind of like when I tell people about my experience when I went to England and France as an adult, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't have that experience." Yeah, because we're not the same color. I intimidate people, and they get scared, and they run down the rodeo of. Do you know? Like I said earlier, when people are scared, they try to fight you. They try to challenge you. They say asinine things because they're scared.
Right. Or, or another aspect is like they think they have leverage over you, so they're going to try and exercise it to see, if they can, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's a bluff or not, but if they think they can get some leverage over you, that's like the first thing they're going to do, right? Like,
Honestly, online, it's always a bluff, especially when people try to say edgy, like Riri, like when they talk about race or gender or something. Like nowadays, it has completely lost its meaning, at least to me. As somebody who's actually in the community, it has no meaning when someone tries to insult me. Because I know it's coming from like online. Do you know there is no bigger sign of loneliness on this planet than the existence of the internet and online communities on the internet, So I know that
Yeah.
that person.
I agree with that in some sense, but I understand that it's just like with some of us, if we're like on here for a while, we forge friendships and alliances with certain people, and then it can be just like in any other scenario, with your IRL people or whatever. But it's like we are people, and it's like that can be a letdown. It can be disappointing to like because I've we had our words at that time, it kind of hit me in the gut, that we got over
I've
it.
learned though, dude. That's the thing.
Happen. And like it's like I've got to be like, okay, just like this person just ghosted me. Like that's the nature of online relationships sometimes. You know what I mean, or whatever. Like, but it's even
Phoenix
worse when
Columns.
they try to fucking badmouth you behind your back and shit. I understand that. Like, if that's
Do you know what?
happening.
And you know what? That's why when I came in, I said that thing about Bionic Dance. Because in my mind, like like I was in the cheap seats eating popcorn watching that because I've been on all sides of what they were talking about.
See, that situation seems more like peripheral though, because I don't think they had any type of close relationship. Whereas you and I have had like a bit more intimate friendships with people on here where we're like, okay, what is it now? I don't know.
Oh gosh, yeah. They're especially, oh god, and those are the people that it hurt. Like honestly, when I stopped streaming with Purple and them, I was more hurt that like I streamed with these people for almost 2 years and they started bad mouthing me and saying that I was going to do all these horrible things. And honestly, like they don't know what I do for a living. That like I represent the community and get paid for it. You know what I'm saying? Like it really it hurt. It hurt, But what I'm trying to spew out is it scared me how high school it was. It really scared me because nowhere in my life does anyone else ever act like that. Like Even me and my neighbor, bro, we got real life beef. He acts like he acts like I don't exist, and vice versa. And even my cop neighbor, we've all kind of made up just a truce, just so we could like live in peace, you know. But there's something very adult about that. You don't get that online. I just don't get the bully mentality. I maybe I'm too old. Is that I'm just too old for the bully mentality.
No, and it's true. And the online sphere, and that's the thing. I mean, everybody's right. The conservatives are right. Whatever. Like that, it's toxic in that sense that it's purely reactionary. Like that's the most common thing you're gonna see online is we're just gonna react to the first fucking shocker and fucking just run with whatever comes out and meme it, and then it's like,
Oh
okay,
gosh,
sometimes you get good ideas, but oftentimes you get like really fucking bad ideas going on. And then there's
like oh man, like I said, I've learned over. That's why, you know what's really funny? After how stupid I acted, after I had an episode between you and me, I decided to never fight anyone on the internet ever again. And the funny thing is, after that interaction, anytime someone would try to fight me, I would literally type like, I do not fight people on the internet, because I learned it's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? Because my
yeah,
heart was beating just as fast as yours was. I was just as pissed, and it was over some stupid internet drama. That's why when I recently got doxxed, I said the words, this is not worth putting my family at risk over stupid internet drama, because I'd already learned the lesson. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I'm like, well, now I've taken it the next step to like, oh, how far can I extend this fucking stupid internet drama? I'll just make more for myself. And I was like, oh, no, walk that one back. But, in a way, it was a positive thing. Like, at least that, that it hasn't been like a super negative thing for me, but at least not until this, knock on wood. But, like, it can be, again, it's just reactionary. So, like, even like things that are happening in your personal life, it's like, dude, like, I don't know, and you can have trouble kind of like discriminating between like which circle you're in sometimes. I guess it's like I would have this conversation with you that like my family or my coworkers or like anybody else would be like, what the fuck are you talking about, this, but
I know what you're saying.
but we've been here a while, and exactly. I hate to give it to the Cone Club cult, but yes, it's somewhat illusory, I suppose.
You know what though? In a way, I agree with that. Because when I came into the community in general, that was what I would tell myself, because I have the old school sense of like, there's an old school saying, and I'm sure everyone says it, but I grew up in the African American Hispanic culture, and people would always say it's not that serious. They would always say like, "Hey, bro, it's not that serious." You know what I'm saying, to anyone that was freaking out. And I treat the internet like that. Like, so that's why when people
Yeah.
freak out at me, I'm like, because I'm telling you, like, I'm tactile. That's why when this shit first started, like when I first came on the internet, I was like, I will shoot you. Like, and then I had to calm down, because I had to realize like people wolf on the internet. And
Well, my whole thing, though. No, sorry. Go ahead.
no, it's really quickly. I was recently watching. I watch a ton of drag queens. Content. I'm subscribed to Mom, to Wow. I watch fucking RuPaul's Drag Race. Like, I'm hooked. But this one really famous drag queen was saying that like she had to stop telling people to go off themselves on the internet.
Oh,
because,
yeah.
because one day someone just might, and she was like, look, she was like saying this in real life. She's like, look, I'm a volatile human. I am a volatile human being. And like, you don't know, if you come up against me, like, I'm crazy in real life. And like, she was saying all the psychotropic drugs she takes. She's like, look, I take drugs just so I don't hurt you guys.
Yeah, but there's like a difference where you're like, okay, yeah, like a fucking, George Carlin or something, anything. It's like, yeah, I mean, I'm making a point of, there's something serious behind it, but I'm making a joke. I'm not fucking telling you to go kill yourself. I'm just being an asshole right now and being like,
Yeah,
this is, what you sound like to me. Why don't you go fucking,
I
eat a
think
bullet or something? I say the same thing to myself when I know I'm acting like a jerk, and I'm like, yeah, jerk, go fucking, get on and go fucking kill yourself. It's fucking stupid shit. Um, like
I
it
get in the
is like
mirror.
externalizing that internal monologue. That shit's going on too.
Oh,
Like,
totally. There's
um,
some people that know, but that's the thing though, is learning how to gauge that. And I always say this, and I've said this to you a million times. I probably said it this morning. Like, it's okay to openly talk about the things that you need help with. It's okay to talk about your flaws, but it's not okay for people to use them against you. You know,
yeah.
the internet's crazy. The internet.
But I remembered on the point of like what we're doing on the internet, or like like the whole like keeping balance thing, but remembering like what your goal is. Like, is there an objective to this thing? Like, yeah, like we're just doing an open room now, but like, I have this whole, we're going to have like intellectual conversations on the Trusty channel or whatever, that type of thing. It was like, oh, yes, we'll get, somebody with a PhD over here to give us their expertise in, zoology or something.
I
I
don't
don't know.
miss that. I don't
No.
miss that. I'll tell you, like, when I used to stream with other people, they would like they would show up with professors and stuff, and I would be like, "Oh crap, are we learning today?" That's why I went back to just turning my channel into a sewing channel, because like I had caused so much drama with my opinion that I forgot.
But like, I also
I
feel like I always
forgot.
wanted, like my art to have a message. If you have an art, you want it to have a
Fuck yeah.
message. Right? Like your sewing has a message, like
Oh yeah.
conveying
Oh yeah.
your beliefs and stuff like that. And like the same thing with music. Like anytime I choose music, like I'm trying to, hopefully have something that's, that actually means something, and it's not just friggin', party rock or whatever bullshit. Like, because I'm not really, like, I get it. Like, kids just want to have fun and stuff, but, like, at the same time, like, we use this stuff to, like, actually, like, um, I think, art's like the expressive form when you think of like visual art or something like that, or the way that, like, early languages, like, what do you call that? They would make poems, and that was kind of the earliest
Yeah.
storytelling,
Like
and
parables
became
and yeah.
songs. Yeah, and then they
My
like,
father my father, like, he spoke, Gula, which was like a slave language, and he was born in the 1930s, you know? But it was passed down through oral tradition.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, trying to think of an oral tradition, and yeah, yes, and so yeah, I think that's important in a way. And like, so the more perspective we get, like the more hours people are putting into consuming this type of stuff, then it's like, okay, well, then maybe we should focus on like what we think is important a little bit, not too much. Like, take it seriously, but not overly seriously, right? But
You know
to
what's
have
so
like
funny?
an objective or a goal or something.
It's not an easy balance though. Every Monday night, I start off with, "Hey, look at all this cool stuff." And 3 hours later, I'm trying to solve the world's problems. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I know.
every
Yeah.
day I try not to make it political, but it always freaking ends up that way, you know? No, and I've tried to redirect it, but again, do you think as human beings we're predisposed to like I be I get an I get annoyed at too much talk because I'm extremely proactive, but do you think um explaining ourselves is part of the human experience. I hate over explaining myself.
I think a lot of people just feel a need to be heard and validated. I don't even think they necessarily like need you to agree with them. They just want you to be like, "Oh, I understood what you said. I can repeat it back to you. That's your opinion. Cool. Congratulations on your opinion." Like, and just don't argue with it, and you will have no conflict. But anytime your opinion differs and you voice that, then you're gonna have a fucking conflict.
Oh,
And
you're talking to dude. I got super canceled. Are you kidding me? Like, and I'm everything that these said people pretend to be, and I got canceled. I get it. If you go against the grain, people hate you. and
okay,
see that's
well, yeah, there's a certain limit, of course, with like, I don't know about cancel culture and all this shit. I think it's kind of a farce, but I mean, yeah, getting kind of booted from a particular scene or whatever, 86 or all that shit.
Can I say something now that we're finally getting this all out?
Yeah, you could say anything.
I've found the atheist community to be more religious, at least the people I've come across, okay? And I have found new people, which I'll introduce you to. I have found all different types of communities of people who are atheists, but they don't talk about it all the time, you know? Or they're just super agnostic on the fence, and that's okay too.
Yeah, yeah. Or people who are kind of just making a joke of the whole thing and I'm not even really sure what they are. But do you know about Uncle Jesus? The Uncle Jesus show?
Oh, yeah. I thought, like, yeah, it took me a second.
I'm like, I'm not sure what Uncle Jesus believes, but I like what he does, and it doesn't really matter that much anymore. Like, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
excuse me.
and or
I
like
can't.
most of us, if we are non-believers, are like super nerds about something or another, and so you have like all those niche channels. Like, and I get into that a bit, but I'm really into the dialogues. Like, I'm just interested in it because I feel like I'm so quiet most of the time. I'm just learning to like try to strike up conversations with people like in real life, and I get better at that like doing this, too. So.
Same. There's one community though that I like. They're really accepting of people like me, but I'm almost scared to step into it because it's like weirdly like a drama community, and I know if I step into it, I'll get mass subscribers. But like, I don't know if I think I'm too old for that. I've found I go. Do you ever find do you ever find yourself exploring on YouTube? Like, I'm subscribed to orcas, to snakes, to spiders, to like people I wouldn't hang out with in real life. I'm subscribed to this. I'm subscribed to the oh, what's his name? That really weird. I don't know if he's Australian or New Zealand, but the biblically guy. I love the biblically guy.
Oh yeah, Ultimated Judeo-Christian. I think he is now. Yeah. He's great. I subscribed. I made a point to go and subscribe to a bunch of like Christians and conservative channels,
Absolutely.
and Protestants, all different types of like whatever. Like I was just like, okay, and like but I can only take it in small doses, which is why I try to just be like, okay, I'm gonna review this one today. That's because I cannot like. But sometimes it'll just play while I'm driving, and I'm like, "Fuck it," like, yeah.
Have you ever heard of Little Light Studios?
I think you previously
I'm
recommended.
hooked. I'm so hooked. They make me. It's gonna make you angry, man. I am so hooked. It's this guy who was obviously a failed actor, or like you can make, and honestly, just working behind the scenes, you can make a ton of money. And he claims he did a bunch of drugs, and there's this other guy on there named Mikey who claims he used to be non-binary because he wore fishnets in the 90s. I'm going to tell you, because I was there, everybody wore fishnets in the 90s. That had nothing to do with sexuality. But long story short, this they are anti-Hollywood, but they do everything to copy and mimic Hollywood itself. You should look it up, and it's $1 million production. They got tons of money, but they're the kind of people that are like, you have to watch those people because they're the ones that are super anti-LGBTQIA, but they present it in a way that gay people are satanic. So,
Sorry, I had to.
oh no, I understand. Anytime. So now, like anything that happens in any movie, they tear it apart, and it just weirds me out how like evangelical Christians go fishing for the devil. Like, why are you like? No one obsesses more about gay and trans people than conservative people, because I'm gonna tell you, in my everyday life, I don't care.
And it's like, it's not really a thing that's in their face. It's so hyped up by the fucking news media, which is what's fucking crazy about it. Because, okay, if we're not in a Christian nation, and it's not like, then why is this, suddenly it's fucking breaking news and we need to legislate about it. And of course, it's the fucking conservatives. And it's like, yeah, they control that party. The fucking Christians control that party. And
They're
it's
doing this.
not, there's.
I felt like scaring myself today, so I started watching GBN News, and they're doing the same thing in the UK. They're doing the same thing, and they didn't even talk like that 6 or 7 years ago, and they've adopted our right-wing language because American English is very different than English, and they use the word woke, which they never did.
What country do you think leads in like real secular democracy?
Okay. So the UK, unfortunately, in that same breath, the UK, because they're a country that was 100% Church of England, and now less than half. And this is the conservatives' number. Less than half people, basically, 54% of people in the UK are atheists.
Right. But
So,
Canada is still like, I don't
but
know.
they're not as nice as you think they are. Passive aggressive. They're I'm not lumping
Well,
every
they're a
Canadian.
bit more anti-religious, aren't they? Like, as far as the bills they're passing and shit.
Yes, and they're pro people. Like when people say, "Oh, they're protecting trans and this, and they're protecting drag queens." No, they're pro people. Like I live in California. Like we live in California. California's pro people. So
Right.
like you can still get an abortion here and not get a million years in prison for it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
But it's impossible for me to get, like, like protesters kicked out of a parking lot in front of Planned Parenthood. Oh, wait, no, I actually did that.
that's awesome. I would join you. If I lived closer, you'd call me. I'd show up with no uniform, just with a mask on. Hey, atheist Mo. I'm still subscribed to your channel, brother. I miss the Bible. I miss you reading the Bible.
Yeah, he was just saying he hasn't done any videos in a while, but he's trying to come back. He's at work right now.
Because I needed it shocks. That is one thing about the atheist community is that I don't get in debates, but it shocks Christians when I can quote the Bible. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like they quickly learn that like a well-versed atheist has probably read the Bible more times than a Christian who goes to church every Sunday.
Well, it's also like when you break it down into like really basic stuff, you're like, okay, so what's the core belief? Okay, so, and I've been going with this a lot. Okay, there's an invisible man in the sky who made everything, and he like knows everything, and Oh yeah. So there's an invisible man in the sky.
But you know what though? What
And he
you
knows
said,
it.
what you said earlier about the Matt Dillahunty defense is so real, because I went back to that as a default when I was talking to my son, trying to simplify it down to like, because he asked me, what do you believe in? And I said, you know what? It's not that I don't believe in God. I just don't see any evidence for God.
Well, not the God they're describing to me. And I constantly like try to get into this with like any theist. I'm like, okay, so can you describe it differently so that it makes sense? Because what you're
Yeah.
saying to me is like
Ugh.
really, really strange.
And the thing is, I hate the debate, but I had to have it with my son. You know what I'm saying? So in my head, I just went back to the endless hours of atheist content that I have consumed over the past like 6 or 7 years. You know,
So I don't think
like
you were here, but like a while ago, I tried to do like a thing where I was like, okay, define your deity. Like if there was a hypothetical like creator being or something, like what does that look like? What do you think that
see,
is? Like
to me,
what
it's
are their
unimaginable.
characteristics?
To me, like God would be so like unimaginable. It would be like something so far out of our realm that we're just like less than pets, less than clay animation. Like it would be so ginormous, it would be unexplainable. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I when I was always into astronomy, but when I divorced from my ex-wife, I owned a ton of telescopes. I was all depressed. I would drink myself into a stupor every night. When I finally quit drinking, for a year and a half, I would track certain star systems, and from where we live, you can see Cassiopeia at all times a year. And so I would track it with my telescope and stuff. The universe is so vast, but we're a part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like that very creator, if it creates everything, it'd have to create all that crap out there too. And the funny thing is, it's so complicated that the light that's coming to us right now is basically like if I'm looking at a binary star in Cassiopeia, the lights that's coming to me, I could be looking at their like Preozoic era, but they're like flying in spaceships now, and I would never know. You
I
know,
have
because that's
kind of
how
a
long.
different theory there, though. Like, so I feel like if all right, so if we're talking about like the creator entity being God or whatever that thing is, like I feel like it's more like a seed. Like
My answer would
the
be I
way
don't know.
cosmology works, the way expansion, like
Yeah,
all that
yeah.
shit. Like you're really talking about like a seed that you planted, it grows and grows outward. Like that's the God you're talking about. Like and it's like the singularity or whatever, bullshit. But like unscientifically, you're just talking like on like a whatever spiritual level, whatever that means. Like that's really what you're talking about. I feel like
Yeah, like I like
that makes sense.
honestly, yeah, because and I recently like I had to even confess to my son, like I'm so tactile, it's made me a nihilist. Like
Right.
so because I'm such a non-believer, like I have a bunch of questions. I have a bunch of questions, because the universe is, I don't know. That's why when people ask me like, oh, like we just right now, like my real answer would be I don't know. Like I truly can't even answer that, because to me it's so unfathomable, because I constantly come down to my tiny ass on this planet spinning around in circles. You know what I'm saying?
But wait. But we can say for sure if the dude in the Bible and the Quran is a real dude, or if they're two separate dudes, I don't know. Maybe they're the same dude. That dude's a dick, whoever he is. Like that
Oh, we're
guy's a
effed.
total
We're
asshole.
effed. We're effed. If especially like because the Torah, Bible, and Quran are supposed to be part 1, part 2, and the Quran is part 3, the revenge. And like we're effed. If the Abrahamic religions are real, everyone's going to hell. Not just not just the like all the preachers. Everyone's going to hell if you
especially if you
look.
take like all the readings literally. Like most of the believers themselves, like the ones that are professed believers, are still committing heresies.
Are you kidding me? There is a young lady at the pod shop. She's got to be, well, when I say young lady, she's probably like 35.
Yeah.
But she is the cleavage queen. Like, just walking in the room would send me to hell twice. Just walking in the room would send me to hell. And she's going with me. She's driving the bus. It doesn't make sense. To me, even heaven doesn't make sense. There's motherfuckers I never want to see again. But like,
But you
am I
won't
gonna get to
recognize
heaven?
them. You know?
That's stupid. I'm blurting out, but to me, like none of it makes sense to me. And if you get your personal heaven, like, what if I don't want my sister there? What if I think my brother's a douche? I got a big family.
Well, no, and when you're listening to it, though, like as a young person, and everybody's all enthusiastic about it. Like, and I've been in those situations where it's like, oh, yeah, how can you not be ecstatic? Everybody's just grand. It's going to be just great. It's like, yeah, you're just snowing me. Like, like, and I remember, I love to tell this story because my friend's mom, I love her. But she's a character, and she'd tell us when I asked her about I don't know, somehow it came up, and she says being in the presence of the Lord is like having 1,000 orgasms over and over forever. And I was like,
wow, dude.
and she said this in front of her own son, who was my best friend, and I was like, what the fuck?
That's
like
the
that
one.
shit sticks with you.
Oh, it makes you crazy. Religion.
We are not Satanists, Jody. I promise you, we're not demons. We're just simple skeptical minds.
and like I told my son, I don't doubt. I don't know. But like I did say on Neil the 601st Atheist channel back when I was still hot and popular. Because I overdosed and technically died and my heart stopped and they literally put me in the I was in the hallway on my way to the morgue and I came back to life. That's what made me an atheist.
So I didn't know you were on Neil's show. When was that?
Oh gosh, almost 2 years ago.
Okay, so probably around the same time as me then, I guess. Or yeah, it was about 2
You and
years.
you and I came in the community around the same time.
Yeah.
But I was
I've been kind
watching.
of lingering. It wasn't making videos yet.
Same. I was lurking for like a year and a half, almost 2 years. Like I was watching, I went from watching old MTV music videos to one day typing in atheist and then falling down the rabbit hole. I did the stereotypical like angry atheist phase, But
No, I
quite
remember,
honestly,
like specifically, I came into the atheist community in a weird way because I was cleaning up. I had just like finally really gotten sober off of crystal meth, and it was 2016. I remember, because I like fled to the woods because Donald Trump was getting elected. And my ex was accusing me of being a lizard person and listening to this David Icke dude or whatever, Ike or whatever his name was.
oh yikes!
And then all of a sudden, like YouTube popped a Sam Harris like recommendation for a Sam Harris video back when it was a Waking Up podcast, and I was like, okay. And I started listening to that, and then he recommended Matt Dillahunty or mentioned Matt Dillahunty, and then it showed up in my recommendations. So I was like, okay, AXP. So this is like 2017. And then, turned on from there, fucking yeah, it just started like spiraling. I just learned of all these people. But yeah, 16, 17, like that was it. Like, and I
That's
was like
why
in the reverse order. Like I was like, okay, Sam Harris and Seth Andrews, and then like Atheist Experience, like going backwards. Like, yeah. And then I was obsessed with Atheist Experience. I'd watch it like every week religiously. Watch the fucking full episode for yeah, good
Do you
year
know
or
what's
so.
really funny? I was like that too. There was a specific show that I would watch that I will not name, and every single person, and I'd watch them all the time because they were on. They had a really cool show. They had a game show. They had questions that were critical, and every
Oh,
single person that I was on the show, they all became my friends. Every single one of them betrayed me. We all hate each other now. It's funny though because you know, because I came in through that side of the community, it really made me jaded because certain people in the community want to be famous. I'm literally like, hey, look at this freaking smock I made. Look at this battle vest. Look at me trying to stay off probation and parole.
well, I remember. Okay, so there's another aspect to that too. That like, okay, so and I learned of a lot of those same people through like AXP and all of that, right? Like, and then but I remember one thing that got mentioned early on was Dragnaut, and so I started watching Dragnaut streams, and but I was just quiet. I was like, oh, this is like way out of my fucking depth, right? And
Same, same.
but then you like turn on to more channels like that, and you realize like how many people are out here doing just whoa, like there's a bunch of people doing crazy shit on the internet, but
Do you know every 6 months I subscribe and unsubscribe to G-Man? I've noticed this in myself. Every 6 months for the past 4 or 5 effing years, I'm like, oh, he's crazy. And then that's like every summer I resubscribe to him because I miss him ranting in the park. Like G-Man, if you know what's really funny? A
and
long time
sometimes
ago,
he makes sense, like as fucking backwards as he is. Sometimes he kind
it's
of makes a little
because
sense.
people have made their careers. People I respect have made their careers off that man. And he's been around just as long as other people that I shall not name. You know what I'm saying? So he's a part of the atheist community too. There are certain
Was,
Christians, your
one of
friend.
the first things I learned that I should have learned from was from like people like Drag, and as I got more into that, like those same communities, that's the type of shit they're looking for. And so people will like, usually they're public about it. Like they'll address you, and then
Yeah.
just like, okay, now I'm going to cover your shit. And
I'm surprised they haven't dragged me. There's a lot of like I recently started hanging out in African American communities, and I was shocked on how they didn't drag me for my accent. I was shocked. I think it's
really,
more of a novelty, you know. But and that's another thing in the atheist community, I've shocked a lot of people because I'm not a stereotype. But where I'm from, everybody talks like I do. Everybody, white, black, Mexican, it doesn't matter. Cambodian.
yeah, I had Hillary's emails told me that I had like a like super non like basically indistinguishable accent, I guess. So I guess we get that in California where it's like you can't tell where somebody's from. But I know a
Do you
lot of
think
other
that
people talk like this. It's just like
do you think
not
that's
the
because
standard
of
for like, regional speech, I guess.
do you think that's because of Hollywood though? Because they, like unless you have like a Brooklyn accent, it's like, for a while it wasn't acceptable for people to have a southern accent on television, so they talk like us.
I think we've just become more standardized over time, like probably with like telecommunications and shit too, that we're just like, okay, So all these like really thick accents get muddled somehow, like when we're so we just like now the speech is clearer. Most of us, I don't know, we share a more similar dialect, so it seems like it's just like a evolutionary thing in language, right? Like
Totally.
we had a bunch of like different people coming together with different languages, and then they were like, this is how they all just ended up in this box over here.
And English, in a lot of ways, which will eventually be replaced by Chinese, is an international language because right now, like in order to get any kind of maritime license, so if you wanted to like go work for Exxon and go on a boat, you would have to speak English. So no matter where you're from, if you work for an oil company, if you work for any major company, in order to get your maritime license, you have to speak English. And I always thought that was really interesting. I had when I was a kid, my friend who I was talking about, that I grew up on the block with, that he was German. He had a cousin who was from Hamburg, Germany, and his grandma came to me and she's like, "Hey, Max, I was 17. I will never forget this. She was like, "Yeah, Max is from Germany. He's your age. Just show him a good time, but remember, he's from Germany." Max showed up being able to speak English. Do you know the average American 17-year-old would starve if you sent them to Germany? Because they wouldn't be able to speak. And he loved smoking weed. He taught me how to roll the cone joints that I still roll to this very day. And because he was a German, he outdrank all of us.
Sorry, I'm taking off my socks if I get this one.
Oh,
off.
no worries. No worries. Usually I cam up, but I'm in my my sweater. I sleep in this sweatshirt, and it literally says BBC on it. But it's big. But it's Big Belly Crew.
Yes, yeah.
It's fake fur lined. I love this stupid thing. Because I was a feral human and I slept in sweatshirts for so long because I slept outside for so long. Like, it's a byproduct.
I slept in my leather jacket last night, which was so uncomfortable. Like when I woke up this morning, I was like, I don't know how that happened.
I do stuff like that. Like I'll get a good coat. Like my thing is, I fall asleep on the couch watching television a lot. But it's because the TV is so mundane, it puts me out.
See, I can't have anything. Like I have to drown out like a fan or something. Like I can't fall asleep if there's any type of talking or music going on. Like, well, sometimes very certain like cases with music I can, but like yeah, it's got to be like special occasion.
Crazy. Because I grew up like on the 5. Literally my bed was in the median. I need noise. Like even right now, if I stop talking, I can hear the freeway. I'm so weird that when I moved like around, I discovered like in the Midwest, I couldn't sleep. Like I can't sleep somewhere where it's like just you and nature. It's just quiet.
Oh, I can do that, but I listen to like crickets and shit like that. Yeah.
It took me a long time. It took me a long time because I was such a feral human. Even now, that's one of the reasons I can't sleep. It's one of the reasons I'm up right now. Like I don't have my kids with my ex-wife tomorrow. I finally have a day off.
I feel like I'm either up right now because I fucking touched that fucking lady earlier with fucking meth face, or it's because I don't have any weed. I'm not sure. Maybe a combination of both.
Oh, that happens to me too. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I'm not a scientist, all right? You know this. We all know this, okay? A long time ago, I dated a girl who literally would shoot the stuff up, okay? Every time we had coitus, I would be up for a day.
Yeah. Oh, that's what happened the last time I was with my ex. And I got mad too because I had to be up for work the next day and I was doing fucking labor at that time. So I was fucking pissed. I was like, we met up for a hookup and now I can't fucking sleep. Like, what the fuck? Like, did you put something in my drink? She was like, no, I swear. I didn't put anything in your shit. I was like, ah.
That's real, man. The excretions from your pores, like that's
Yeah.
real. I like, and because I was such a rookie when I was 24, I dated a woman who was my age now. I still trip out on that, and she still, the funny thing is, she still wants it because I was nice to her. But anyways, when I moved into her apartment from my old apartment, I told her, like, I dated this chick and like she used to shoot it up, and like she literally was like, get rid of all your sheets, bro. Get rid of all your bedding. Because like I didn't wash my stuff. I was a dirtbag. I was 20-something-year old, I didn't know what I was doing. I was lucky to have an apartment. Matter of fact, when I lived in Oregon, the only reason I got an apartment was because it was cold outside.
Yeah.
And I had a roommate. I had a cool roommate who, like, he was I had a roommate who was from Ghana, and he was a crab fisherman. So he would go to Alaska for 6 to 7 months out of the year. So I wouldn't see him. He was the best roommate. He'd show up, give me a wad of cash. It actually taught me to be responsible, because he gave me a giant wad of cash, and he'd be like, make sure this apartment is still here when I get back.
I used to get fucking meth with a guy like that when I was a teenager. But he wasn't very responsible because he was using dope. But we ended up we did some crazy shit. But he would disappear for fucking 3-4 months at a time, come back with a big wad of cash, get fucking hookers and blow, and yeah, fucking. I remember fucking sitting there watching him getting tattooed by a guy with a fucking. It made his fucking tattoo gun out of like an erector set or some shit. I don't know what it was.
Oh, dude, that's jailhouse shit. I love that shit. Dude, my roommate was from Ghana. I don't know what was wrong with him. Sometimes, like, I really wonder. He wanted to become a Mormon. He was like really real, a real African, like a real African, and he wanted to the point where and I lived with Franklin through 2 different apartments. Let me tell you something. Mormons are judgy, but a Mormon will tar your roof. A Mormon will wash your car. Like, they helped us move. They gave me a glass table that I used to do drugs on. Like, the Mormons were awesome. But it was weird watching them, like, now they have people of color in their church, but this was 22 years. Gosh, what year is it? This was 23 years ago. I don't think they would let people of color in their church. So he was just an honorary member.
So I have a friend who's a Mormon. He was an elder. I met him. He was on mission, my buddy and I, and he's a fucking metalhead. He loves fucking Slayer, Exodus, and all that shit.
Yeah.
And so he would come over because me and my buddy were jamming at the time, and it was just the two of us on guitars. And they would come over on their mission, him and his fucking partner, and they just sit on the couch and listen to us jam for a couple hours and be like, oh, yeah. And then occasionally they'd be like, oh, yeah, do you know about Jesus? Oh, yeah, you remember that? Oh, yeah, okay, cool.
I think I scared them. Like, I live in a Mormon neighborhood, so the missionaries around here are cocky. When I was younger, we met people just like the ones you met. Like, they were cool. There were a bunch. Like, I saw this meme last night where this guy was like, if they were like playing Uno, and they're like, if we win, the Mormons are gonna smoke a bowl with us. If we lose, they're gonna make us read the Book of Mormon. That's real, dude. We used to do that with the those guys were down. They would do anything for like, to preach. But these kids, I feel like they judge me because I smoke joints in front of my house. And like sometimes when they're like walking around, I will not stop what I'm doing. Like I'm chilling. I got my phone going. Especially
I think
lately.
it's funny 'cause, like at my job, like I constantly have to tell people like, "Oh, you can't blaze here," and I'm like, I would be the dude smoking a joint at the bus stop, like on any other day. Like if I wasn't in uniform, that'd be me. And I'm like, you can't blaze here.
I smoke within. I love that shit. I smoke within my rights, and that's the one obnoxious thing I do is because I know I can legally smoke on my property. You know what I'm saying?
But I mean, at a public bus stop, you might be more cautious, especially if there's kids around. You just be like, yeah, I'll go blaze over there, But these guys are like, yeah, fuck them. Fuck them.
I'm a compulsive smoker. And I never smoked around kids.
Do you think vape is better? A lot of people think it's like vape is like holier than thou. Like, oh no, that's not smoke, that's vape.
It's okay. So for someone like me, it's asking for permanent pneumonia.
Yeah.
So it's bad for certain types of people. And look up popcorn lung.
Yeah, no, I've read about that. Yeah.
That shit, dude. When I saw that, I'm like, people are voluntarily doing this shit to themselves. Like, you gotta be kidding me.
I thought that was just like one specific fucking type that they fucking outlawed, though. Like when the people that got popcorn lung, like it was a very specific, like butter flavored or some bullshit. Like,
do you remember when spice was legal?
What?
When spice that like over the counter
salvia,
synthetic pot, the fake pot.
Oh yeah, that okay, yeah.
That stuff was wild, dude. People were like geeking out, and the cops like didn't know what was going on around here.
Really?
Oh, dude, we had zombie zones in downtown LA. Like it got bad here with that stuff. One of the outreaches I was doing, like we stopped doing it. I can't remember what year that was. I don't know if it was 2018 or 2019. In downtown LA, they found the literal effing plague virus. There was a form of meningitis that was like the plague. And so like a lot of different outreach services and volunteer service was like, dude, we can't ask you. We're not paying you enough to go die.
Yeah, it's like we don't have enough room to bury you, so yeah.
Oh, dude, the good old days. He has risen, though. Remember, he has risen.
Yeah, he'll rise up again. He'll rise up early in the morning. He'll rise up late at night. He don't care what time it is.
Oh man, I feel sorry. Like, well, I'll be asleep this Easter, but like every Sunday, I smoke a joint and I drink coffee, and I'll find something to watch. But on my security camera, I can see all my neighbors going to church.
Oh no!
And I'm that guy. I'm that guy where I'm like, ha ha, like.
You moved on the wrong block. How dare you? How dare you, sir?
Well, I live in a super. I made the mistake of moving back to my hometown. I made that mistake. Like, I don't know what the hell was wrong with me. I'm glad I got to like hang out with my dad when he finally became cool, and my mom finally became cool. Like, I'm okay with that, but like, I don't know why the hell I moved back here. Worst decision ever. But my town's religious. They're and it's weirdly planned. In my town, there's a church and an elementary school every mile. Oh, thank you, Jody.
Yes, I consider that good compliments. Wait, so I don't know. Well, okay, I don't know about the. That's not necessarily a bad thing, right?
It was planned that way.
I would ask, like, what's the community like? Because that's really the important part. Because it doesn't matter, like, what's on, like, I mean, it does matter, but I mean, the
Because
community ultimately is like what you're looking at. Because I'm like, okay, is
I
it a
used
supportive community or one that just is like, well, like, fend for yourself or fuck off, because
it's a yuppie community, and they tout themselves as being the third safest city in California, but really what it is that the cops are everywhere.
isn't that what every city in California says? We're all third safest, yeah.
Oh, it takes me off.
City of trees, and I've seen that.
Yes.
Yes.
They made a law where you legally cannot have an RV on the street in my town. The cops beat up homeless people. They go out of their way. It just I guess because I'm ex like homeless, it scares me. Like, because 20 something years ago, the cops let us be hippies, dude. We were just invisible. They didn't care as long as we weren't hurting anybody. They didn't give two shakes of a lamb's tail what we did. But but my town goes out of its way to harass homeless people, and it's
That's not
just disgusting. Yeah, and they basically made it illegal to be homeless, but the Supreme Court was like that's not a law. The Supreme Court, because during COVID,
bad.
the cops were arresting homeless people, and the Supreme Court was like, you can't do that. Unhoused
Plus, it costs them
people.
more money to house them and have to vaccinate them and shit, right? And give them
Yeah,
masks and yeah.
exactly. And like they basically said, like, because they're not quarantining and blah 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 blah, and they were like, where can they go? It is crazy times. It is crazy times. So, and
We're
like
living in times.
I don't even hang out in my hometown. I go over the hill into LA because no one cares. Like in LA, no one cares. No. My son gets culture. I get to go to there's dispensaries everywhere. And that's another thing. In my town, they made it illegal to have a dispensary, which every town has their right. But in our industrial center, there's a company that makes shatter. Do you know what shatter is?
I've tried it, yes. I'm not like a huge fan, but I don't know if I think that was like homemade chatter that I tried. So
That stuff I don't smoke it because it gives me pneumonia. I'm old. I don't smoke any of the fancy stuff. I saw
I prefer strictly flower, but right now I'm
same.
smoking like the resin out of my pipe because I'm desperate.
Oh man, if you lived any closer, I'd puff you out.
That's all right.
Freaking I still have that giant embarrassing ball of resin. I'm gonna make. Did you ever watch Pee Wee's Playhouse?
A little bit, not very much.
Pee Wee, Pee Wee had a ball of tinfoil, and every week he would chew gum and he would add a little bit of it, and it was literally the same size as he was. And like, I'm gonna see how big I can get my resin ball.
Nice.
Every time, because I can't smoke it anymore because of my lungs. Every time I show it, I have a friend. Every time I show it to him, he takes a picture of it, and he has such a bad memory. I'm like, how many times are you gonna post this on Facebook? But it's like it's getting freakishly large.
Okay. Well, I think that's where exactly right there. That. Good night. Good luck.